Hello, Blazers. Welcome to episode 149 of UAB Green and Told. Original release Monday, May 5th, 2025. This podcast gives us a chance to share stories from members of the UAB community. Listen to previous episodes of Green and Told, campus's most downloaded podcast, at alumni.uab.edu/greenandtold on Spotify and the Apple Podcast app. And while there, I'd like to encourage you to leave a written review to help more alums find us. I'm Greg Berry, a UAB alum and Director of Communications in the Office of Alumni Affairs. Caroline Baker's adventure into nursing began with a pivotal moment. Hoping to confirm her calling as a doctor, she signed up to shadow one. However, the reality of the work didn't resonate with her, and she quickly realized this path wasn't for her.
I signed up to do a program where I shadowed a doctor and an orthopedic surgeon. And I realized I didn't like it not one bit. I was like, this ain't for me.
Despite this setback, as we'll learn, Caroline's strong desire to help others led her to write an accessible and practical book for those navigating life with loved ones facing challenges.
You know, how do you do that? And so putting it in a format in which the average person can pick it up, read it, do it, and feel better after they do it.
And interestingly, her career path was influenced by an unexpected source: pigs. Who knew that a little piggy could lead her to a fulfilling career in nursing and mental health?
Long story short, it started with a pig. I was in there nursing pigs. And who would have thought it would have led me into a whole career in nursing and mental health.
As a fellow Midwesterner, I totally get Caroline Baker's desire to escape those bone-chilling winters. Her journey isn't just marked by ambition, it's driven by a passionate love for learning. Growing up in the frosty embrace of Racine, Wisconsin, Caroline was often found snuggled up with a book. One particularly cold winter, she dreamed of sunnier skies and warmer places, motivating her to explore warmer climates for her next chapter.
I've always been very ambitious and I guess kind of nerdy. You know, I was always in my books and everything. And I can remember one winter, it was so cold. We did a college tour. It was a group of us did a college tour to the South, and we visited all the different colleges in the South. And it was lovely. And I was like, I don't think I want to move to the South. And so being that ambitious person that I was, the first thing when I got a chance to apply to schools, I'm like, I'm only applying to schools in the South. I don't want to stay in Wisconsin. So here I am.
Where does that ambition that you mentioned come from?
I think it comes from my mom, my aunt, just lots of family members that I grew up around, just people just always trying to find their niche in different things. And so that really kind of inspired me to, anything that I might have interest in, to explore it, try it out, see if you like it. If you don't like it, then try something else. So it's just always been ingrained in me to kind of just follow wherever your heart is leading you. And trusting that it might be something there to explore.
When you attended Alabama State, you kind of knew you wanted to go into medicine. Was nursing kind of the ultimate goal even when you were an undergrad there?
Actually, no. It's such a weird story. When I was in high school, I thought I wanted to go into the military. I was looking into maybe possibly going into the National Guard. And so I had met with the recruiter. I was like, okay, I'm going to do this. This will be great for me. And then I thought about it. I was like, well, I don't really want to do that anymore. Like, my interest changed. Again, that thought of what else can I do? And so I was introduced into working as a nursing assistant in high school. And so that kind of planted the seed for nursing. But then I thought about it. I was like, I don't want to be a nurse. I want to be a doctor. I want to be in healthcare, but I want to do more. I want to be more. And so when I came to the South, I had my intentions where I'm going to go to medical school once I finish this degree in medicine. Well, I signed up to do a program where I shadowed a doctor and an orthopedic surgeon. And I realized I didn't like it not one bit. I was like, this ain't for me. So then I went to, maybe I'm interested in research. Since I'm getting a bachelor's degree in biology, let's see what research is like. So I signed up for a program. Again, I'm taking advantage of all the programs that the school has to offer. And I did this internship in Indiana at a medical school doing research on pigs. And so we were my part of the project was I was doing weight, pain management, really kind of helping prepare pigs for surgery. In doing that, the PI over the research project noticed, like, Caroline, you're really more so kind of like nursing these pigs. You're in there talking to them. You're in there, in the cages, like cleaning up their cages for them. You're feeding them. You're making sure they got their pain pills. He's like, that's not really what we intended, for the project, but I think this is something to explore because I'm noticing this quality about you. And so he was like, either you need to consider veterinarian medicine or nursing. And I was like, well, I used to be a nursing assistant in high school. That was kind of my thing. And he's like, well, maybe that's what's calling you. After that project had ended, I was like, well, maybe let's look into nursing and see what's there. And I got connected with somebody at the UAB School of Nursing that kind of helped mentor me into this realm. And she really opened up my eyes to nursing as just more than what I thought it was.
So how did you go from pigs to that mentorship with that person at UAB? What was that transition like?
I always tell other people when they say they're interested in nursing, okay, let's meet with some nurses. Let's talk to people that work in this industry so they can really tell you the good, the bad, and the ugly about it. Because we only see one view sometimes of things and we think it's glamorous and it's really not. And so getting connected with somebody and them kind of sitting down and say, okay, this is what nursing is all about. This is what it's going to take for you to get there. But also when you get there, this is what you can do with what you have, what you can create, and where to go after that. So it was interesting to be able to go from what I thought I wanted to do to actually what I ended up doing and really thriving in it, basically.
And I'm sure you wanted to, at this point, stay in the South. You went to Alabama State. When you're looking for where to go next, staying in the South had to have been, right at the top.
Yes. I actually went home. So I did travel nursing for a while. And I went home and did a travel nurse assignment in the winter just to see if I could still handle it. And when I tell you it was so cold, my headlights on my car went out. I was like, you know what? No, let me stick to what I've grown accustomed to. I'm going back to the South after this assignment is over. I was like, no, I can't do it.
Hey, I totally get that. My family and I, we've been down in Alabama now for 14 years, so I relate tremendously. So was it that mentor that kind of drew to UAB? Was that going to be the next step, or were you considering other opportunities as well?
I was considering, I think more so, I knew I wanted to stay in Alabama. I didn't really take the time to explore other nursing programs in Alabama. I looked at the University of South Alabama, but I was like, I'm not going to go down to Mobile. I really didn't have an interest in it. By that time, I had grown comfortable with being in the Montgomery, Birmingham area because I knew people here. So I was like, I'm just going to stick to what I know. And Birmingham has tons of resources, especially for nursing. And then as I got more accustomed to UAB and all the things that they offered, I'm like, this is probably the best fit for me anyway. So when I applied to the program, and the great thing is I had mentors through this whole process. So when I applied to the accelerated master's program at the UAB School of Nursing, my mentors at Alabama State University really helped me. Like hey, let's take a look at your resume. Let's look at your personal statement. Let's practice doing your interview. Like they would quiz me like, okay, these are some questions you might get. Come professionally dressed, show up at this time. Like they were not playing with me. They really wanted me to be successful. And I think that really helped me kind of really lay the framework in being able to get into nursing school, but also survive nursing school, because in itself is a challenge.
Once you got to UAB, you started to stack the degrees. You got the BSN, Bachelor's in Nursing, then you got the Master's degree in Nursing, and then you got another one with more of a mental health angle of it. Did you always have the plan to get those multiple degrees, or did it just kind of come because you're like, you know what, maybe there's an opportunity for me to grow here?
It came with the opportunity to grow. So I think God has definitely been working with me. So my first nursing job, it started out in mental health. I was working as a bedside nurse in mental health. And they always tell you, don't jump on the first job that calls you back. Definitely try to, get some offers going on. But I did. I applied to a mental health unit that I didn't even know anything about. And I was like, well, we'll see what happens. And so in my mind, I wanted to be this labor and delivery nurse because I wanted to deliver babies. But hindsight looking back, I'm like, that really was not my thing. It was just exciting for the moment when I was in nursing school, but it really was not my thing. But anyway, so I hopped on the first job that called me back, start working as a nurse. And I realized, once I got some time in, I was always precepting nursing students or getting the new nurses and training them. And whenever there was a new person, everybody would say, put them with Caroline. She'll explain everything to them. Like, she's good at teaching and doing these things. And so that really planted the seed for maybe I need to go back and get my master's in nursing education, because you do really well at this, this one thing. I like teaching. I like talking. I like coaching. I like interacting and kind of shaping new nurses. And so I went back to get my master's degree and in nursing education. And I'm like, okay, this is great. Now what? What am I going to do now? And it just so happened a job had came open at UAB Hospital for a nursing professional development specialist. And that's basically fancy for you're like all things education related to nursing. And so this opportunity allowed me to stay in my specialty, which is mental health, but also work with staff, new nurses, whether that's, new to our specialty or new to the hospital, nursing students, but also seasoned staff and helping them to grow and, professionally develop in their career as I have. And so it was really me moving into what I was already doing, but more so on a level of understanding how to do it professionally.
You mentioned you were drawn to mental health. What was it that took you that way?
I guess growing up, I was always surrounded by somebody with some type of mental health challenge, whether that's substance use or they struggle with anxiety or depression. Like, I always was surrounded by it before I really even knew what it was. And so I always had a heart for, I guess, giving those types of individuals extra love and support and just kind of understanding. Like, that empathy element always resonated with me when it came to people who had those challenges. In nursing school, out of all the classes that we did in nursing school, the mental health class, I did very well in. It was one that I did not have to study and cry about every day. It came easy to me to understand. And I was like, that's interesting. When we did the clinicals, I felt comfortable, which is really different, especially when you're working with mental or in mental health, but you have nursing students. Either they're going to feel comfortable in the environment or they're going to be scared. But it was more of a, it's not so bad. This is not scary. This is okay for me. I could see myself working here. Taking those things, and I was like, well, let's see. Let's apply for a job and see what happened. And then when I started actually working in it, I was like, this is not bad after all. Like, this is great, actually. It really fits who I am. I'm allowed to talk to people, get to know people's stories, and really make an impact on a different level.
So at what point during your young career did the Master's in Psychiatric Mental Health come into play?
So that came into play maybe about 5 years ago. I was engaged and I was going, getting married or whatever. I did not know if I was going to have to relocate because my fiance at the time was not from here. And I said, okay, I don't know too many jobs that are hiring other nurse educators, in the field. And I at that time, did not want to go back to just working at the bedside. But I did want to continue working with patients and I did want to continue with developing. And so I said, well, naturally, let's just go and get this, psychiatric nurse practitioner degree. And then we'll go from there as far as seeing what else, if I have to relocate, what else can I do? The good thing is I didn't have to relocate. We're still here in Birmingham, but also going back and getting that degree really kind of brought everything full spectrum as far as my career goes. Like, I got the educational development piece, but also I really honed in on my mental health education and skills. So I kind of like brought everything full circle with doing that. So that really worked out well for me.
And I like that you brought that together, because that leads me to the next question. You combine the two with a book, with a workbook, the 30-day mental health reset workbook. Mm-hmm. Was it the combining of those two realms that led you into putting that together?
Yes. I've kind of reached this point in my career, like, I'm really exploring how can I maximize my skill set, my education, my experience, and really make myself the ultimate psychiatric nurse practitioner, the ultimate mental health nurse educator. All that experience and things that I've learned about mental health and dealing with patients, doing therapy, alongside with all the coaching that I've done, the mentoring, the professional developing, I just brought it all together and it's like, hey, let's put this in a book, in a workbook format that somebody like me who may not necessarily have a diagnosed mental illness, but you're having some challenges and you want to work through that. How do you do that? And so putting it in a format in which the average person can pick it up, read it, do it, and feel better after they do it.
Go into a little bit more with the 30-day mental reset workbook. When looking at it, what would one person see in purchasing it?
They would see that it's not your typical journal.
Okay.
Like there are some questions that require some deep reflection. I think a lot of times when we're going through things in life, some challenges, we don't think about the deep rooted issues that come before them. And so the book asks questions, like, what was your childhood experience like? Could this be something that's precipitated from something that may have happened when you were a kid? Things that you were told growing up. What was your support system like as a kid? What are things that your parents said to you? It really challenges you to think on a deeper level rather than kind of what's presented before you, the current problem. But the more of a deeper understanding that you have, the more you can tailor your solution to what's actually going on.
Did that book lead you into the mental health tips for everyday life as well?
Yes.
Talk about that and what the goal was when you sat down and worked on that.
So on my Facebook page, my personal Facebook page, I share mental health tips, if not daily, at least a couple times a week. And over the past couple years of doing that, and these are just like random thoughts either that are happening to me and things that I experienced or I have learned or I've heard or, just things that I've sat and thought about in meditation, just having a moment that provides clarity and I share with somebody else. In doing that every day, people have reached out to me and said, oh my God, thank you for posting that. That has helped. That's been helpful. Or I've been really struggling with managing my anxiety. Those tips that you share really have, impacted my life. And so I was like, oh, I'm really sharing things that are helping people. So why can't I just put what I already created and make it into another book that somebody can have at their disposal? So when they need it, hey, I got my mental health tips for everyday life. So not just talking about depression, anxiety, but today I may just be feeling overwhelmed, or today I'm overloaded with so many priorities. How can I work through my priority? Just everyday things that we experience that we may need a little bit of tap on the shoulder to say, hey, it's okay. This is what you do to get out of that.
And everything you have done has also been incorporated in Mental Health Detox, your YouTube page, which I looked at, and there's some really cool things. Are those kind of the same things that you're putting on your personal Facebook page?
Yeah, and on the Mental Health Detox YouTube page, I actually do like deeper dives in certain topics. I really play off some of the tips and also some of the feedback that I got from people saying, hey, can you talk more about this? Or can you talk more about how to have a positive mindset? And so creating those videos that really hone in those specific things that people want to hear, but gives me opportunity to elaborate on how to do these things is kind of where that YouTube page is going.
How have you seen the growth of that YouTube page? Because I'm looking at some of the hits, and there's some really good numbers that you're seeing.
It's growing, and like I said, over time, as I pour into it, it continues to grow. I did have to take a break from it for a couple of years because I started having kids and life started happening. Again, just like anybody else, when life is life, and what do? I really try to model what I'm teaching. That way people realize like we can normalize conversations about mental health. It happens to me just as much as it happens to you, but this is how I overcame it. Trying to put that out there to say, hey, it's all good. We're all in the same boat together.
And that's very difficult sometimes because a lot of the times it's do as I say, not as I do. Has it been a challenge to meet that though at times?
Oh yeah, because again, I'm still learning this thing as we're going. As I'm teaching, I'm learning. It's also been a good thing as well because I can share with you my challenges. That way you won't make the same mistakes that I did. And I really related back to when I came into my profession, I had some mentors. I had people there coaching me along the way, cheering me on, giving me that support on those days where I felt like quitting or giving up or frustrated. They were there to pick me back up and say, oh, nope, 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 nope. I've been here before. This is what you do to get through that. And so I really try to model that in anything that I do so that the next person can be just as successful as I was when I started trying to pursue anything.
When you started your career working in mental health, what was the biggest surprise, the biggest challenge that you noticed with patients?
The biggest challenge I noticed, I guess just some people, I guess you have to accept the fact that some people will never reach a level of, I don't want to say understanding, but understanding what their baseline is.
Okay.
Some of them will never break through that ceiling. And it's not necessarily their fault, it's because of their illness. You have to learn to love and care for them where they're at. And so we can want more for our patients, more than what they're willing to give. And sometimes doing that, we burn out faster. So understanding that just meeting them where they are and helping them to maximize at that level is also just as fulfilling. That way you don't end up giving it more than what the patient is willing to do, because you could really tap out really quickly doing that.
Where do you see mental health care going in the next decade?
I really hope it gets better, just for our economy, our state in general. I really do hope it gets better. I think the more that we're talking about it, I do like that there are so many pioneers, so many people that's really pushing the movement for mental wellness and getting the education out there. People are interested in knowing more. I really feel like we're headed in the right direction. We just need more resources to help keep that going, keep that momentum going. But the more conversations that we can have about it, the more people are willing to get out there and try to do what's best to make it better.
With the books, with the YouTube page, the Facebook page, everything you're doing, where do you see yourself going over the next decade, 2 decades or so?
My goal is to move into a realm where bringing that psych nurse practitioner piece in and bringing an educator and professional development piece in, bringing it all together, but also bringing it in together in a way in which I want to do it. I want to be able to work when I want to work. I want to work how I want to work. I want to really show people how you can maximize your skill set, maximize those degrees that you invested that time in, your experience, all of that. How can you really use that to your ability to thrive and do whatever it is that you want to do, break free of kind of your normal routine of things. And so I really want to showcase that in all the different platforms that I do, but also through my work and through my own experience that I share with everybody else.
Do you ever sit back and reflect and think, based off of the success that you've had so far in your career, it kind of started with a pig?
Yeah. Long story short, it started with a pig. I was in there nursing pigs. And who would have thought it would have led me into a whole career in nursing and mental health like that? The correlation between the two is so vastly different, but it's where I landed.
That's Caroline Baker, a 2-time graduate of UAB's School of Nursing. She earned her bachelor's degree in nursing in 2011 and followed it up with a master's in 2020. Always striving for excellence and never afraid to get her hands dirty, she truly understands what it means to be a blazer.
I feel like a blazer is somebody who embodies creativity, resilience, a mindset of togetherness, but in all that, I feel like a blazer is somebody who not only leads a path, but they're going to leave a highway. Like you're blazing your path, you're finding your way, but you're going to leave a highway behind you because there are going to be people that's going to follow you. And so in order for them to be successful and get everything that you got, like you got to leave the clear cut path. So we're not just leaving footprints, we're leaving the street, with lights. I feel like that's what a blazer is. It's somebody who they go forth, they lead the way, but they're going to make a way for everybody else that also shares that same passion, same excitement, same creativity along the way as well.
Be sure to check out past episodes of the UAB Green and Told podcast. Listen in at alumni.uab.edu/greenandtold. Have a story to share or know someone who does? Email greenandtold@uab.edu. Finally, be sure to follow us on social media. Just search UAB Alumni on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Thanks for listening, and until next time, go Blazers.